Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching and listening to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show presented by PrizePicks. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Adam Scherer. Ship My Money DFS on a Tuesday morning, breaking down an 8-game NBA slate. What's happening, man?
Not much. Feel better today than I did yesterday, that's for sure. So happy about that. And an 8-game slate. Nice slate of games this week, I think. 6 yesterday, 8 today. So looking forward to that.
It's nice. Yeah. I feel a little better than yesterday, but I am in rough shape. And this has nothing to do with like hangover or anything. Yeah, no. I think is what you're referring to. Stomach bugs going around this way, dude. And let me tell you, it is no joke at all. I haven't eaten since Sunday night.
I mean, I knew it was bad when you took off the deeper dive yesterday, because typically you don't take off when you're sick. So
right. Like usually I'll power through it and then I'll just crawl into bed afterwards.
Right.
I couldn't do it's. I woke up at midnight puking, and my wife's like, it woke her up. She comes to the bed and she's like, you okay? She's never heard me puke before. And obviously, like non-alcohol related pukes. I can't remember the last time I throwing up. And then, man, let me tell you, the last 2 days, toilet bowl looked like East Palestine drinking water. Not good. And it just won't stop. So here we are. Yeah, Obi-Wan, the norovirus, stomach flu, gastroenteritis, call it what you want. My stomach doesn't hurt. Just can't. I haven't eaten since Sunday night. I had a couple crackers. That was it. Like, oh God. Hopefully we get better. You know what's weird though, man? It was. I'm sure you've had stomach bugs before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay. Usually it comes where like your stomach is hurting, and then you're just, doing your. My stomach didn't hurt. It's just, yeah, guys, don't take it. We're just having fun here. It didn't hurt. It's just, I felt like I had the flu. I had the body aches. I had like the headache. I had no energy. Very weird stuff.
So you probably have the flu.
I had no fever whatsoever at all. No fever. And now I don't have it was 24 hours of body aches and stuff. I'm saying it was just, it's a really weird illness that I can't really explain.
Yeah, that's weird. That sucks.
But we're here. We're going to make it happen. We got Adam to guide us through this one as well. More than anything, though, happy to have you guys with us. If you haven't done so yet, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe. See, some people like my absurd jokes. Appreciate you guys for that. Don said food poisoning. Don, it might have been, but usually you get You ever have food poisoning, Adam?
Once in Miami.
Okay. I don't know about you, but when I had food poisoning, the stomach cramps were worse than anything I've experienced in my life.
I don't really remember. I just remember puking constantly.
Okay. Like I had no stomach. I don't know, whatever. I'm not trying to gross you guys out this early in the show, but we're all adults here. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below if you're watching after the fact. Appreciate that greatly. Try and at least read all of them, respond to as many as we can. And if you're listening in podcast form, hey, show some love, leave a rating or review. All that good stuff goes a long way. Tell your friends about the pod, subscribe to the podcast channel. All right. Anyway, let's make this happen and get into a little bit of basketball here. So, John, did you see what Taylor Jenkins said about Ja too? Like this is not, I know they said minimum 2 games, but this is like we'll see. And now he's going to get help for this and he's healing.
Yeah, I didn't see what he said, but I think it was Josh and I were talking about it yesterday. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Josh, but like it feels like there's probably stuff that we don't know yet. Like given how long it took for the beating up the 17-year-old and the security guard thing to come out, there's probably more stuff the Grizzlies know that we don't. And yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it seems like there's more to this than just like Ja being an idiot.
That's what I was thinking, but we'll see. Anyway, he's out. And Tyus Jones with a 60 fantasy point game. We had people on Sunday being like, yeah, just fade him. Well, that didn't work. Anyway, he's priced up, but still you're coming off 36 minutes. So we'll get into all of this. Let's kick it off with the first game on the slate though. We got 8 to go through. Milwaukee at Orlando. So the Milwaukee Bucks here, going into Orlando, 7-point favorites. Giannis is expected to play. Drew's questionable here. So I guess we can play that one by ear. But at the price points right now, I'm just curious to know how you view this. You have Embiid on the second of a back-to-back on the road. You have Luka against Utah. Anthony Davis is probable against Memphis. Ja is out. LeBron's out. Just looking at all these high-priced guys, how does somebody like Giannis slot in from a prioritization standpoint?
I think more of a luxury than anything. Like clearly, if you get to Giannis, great. Right now we have him projected as the second highest scorer on the slate. I think you could certainly make a case that he could be higher than Luka, given that Kyrie's there now. But either way, clearly one of the top projected players, but also the most expensive guy on a slate where you do have a lot of payups. You mentioned Luka, Davis, and Embiid. You also have James Harden, $2,000 less. You have Curry, you have SGA. So not that they're the same tier in terms of production, but they're still very high upside players that are a lot less expensive. So right now we only have about 7 to 8% ownership coming into Giannis. We have him with about a 6% chance of being optimal on DraftKings. And so to me, it just looks more like a luxury. Like it's nice in tournaments when you can play Giannis as a contrarian play. You can be different by playing arguably the best player on the slate, but it's also just relatively difficult to get there.
Marco said Ja Morant went from point guard to shooting guard. I'm sure there's no way you made that up, right? It's got to be something that's going around right now. Maybe not. Anyway, if you did, props to you. Anybody else from Milwaukee then? I mean, just looking at him right now, of course, you have this Drew Holiday news that could play a role here if he ends up sitting. But if everybody's active for Milwaukee, what do you do with them against Orlando?
Not a lot. I mean, it's a good matchup, but none of the pricing really stands out. We just talked about Giannis being really expensive. Middleton's at 6,400, still, as far as we know, playing that 25, 26-ish minute role off the bench. He's really productive in those minutes because he's out there for every minute that Giannis isn't. But that price tag is just really difficult to get to. Drew at 8,300 gives you a ceiling, but you're never too excited to get to him at that price when Giannis and Middleton are in. Lopez is priced up. This is a really difficult team to get to despite a good matchup against Orlando.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing at this point is, do we start? Are Middleton's minutes just slowly going to get back there? Because he played, 27 minutes last game? It's still, I don't know if it justifies the price point, even though he's been a quality per minute guy. I feel like at 6,400, assuming everyone's healthy today, you'd still want more than 27, 28 minutes for Middleton. And that's assuming that he even goes back to playing that because he's only done it once.
Right. Like you're seeing, it always becomes kind of tempting when you see him add on another minute or two, because it's oh, well, is he just now going to have a game where does he go from 27 to 32 without a gap? But there's nothing to suggest
unlikely.
What'd you say?
It seems unlikely with how they've used his minutes this far.
Right. Exactly. And so the way I'm kind of viewing it now is whatever game Chris Middleton moves into the starting lineup, I think he's probably playing 30 plus minutes. But for now, I'm just assuming that you're still 26, 27 minutes, something like that. And at 6,400, he's pretty much priced for that. He has been very productive in those minutes, like I was saying, but it's just still so tough if he is just going to play around 27 minutes to put up a score at 6,400 that you have to have. And clearly he can disappoint because everybody can always disappoint. So it's just his range of outcomes in limited minutes at a mid-range price tag is still skewed towards the negative.
Can you explain the Cole Anthony ownership on the other side of this game? 33, a third of the field going to have Cole Anthony in their lineups today.
He's been playing a lot. We have Gary Harris questionable, Wendell Carter questionable as well. So last game you got Suggs you got Suggs starting in place of Harris, and then Anthony played 24 minutes off the bench. In previous games, you've been getting more minutes than that. So I do think the ownership is probably a little bit higher than it should be. But at the same time, 4,400 for, we'll call it 24 to 28 minutes from Anthony is still a pretty good price tag. He projects around 6x. You're just going to get a lot of ownership coming into him at that price.
And then, I mean, Wagner, if Wendell Carter sits, Mo Wagner, he's 3,900 right now. So he got the start last game, right? And you had 33 minutes in the starting lineup with Carter Jr. unavailable. And you would think a sub 4K Mo Wagner, I understand it's not a great matchup, but that's going to become a highly appealing play here for a guy that's already a +1 fantasy point per minute producer on the season.
Yeah, center only is, the only drawback there. But if Carter is out, you should get a bunch of minutes from Wagner as long as he avoids foul trouble. Obviously, this is a matchup where he can very easily get in foul trouble against Giannis. But he's a good point per minute guy. We saw that if he avoids foul trouble, the minutes are there for him. It's not like you had any sort of real timeshare. Bol still only played 16 and a half minutes. Schofield didn't even play in the second half. Goga Batadze played in the second half, but not the first half. So it was Mo Wagner's minutes to lose. And that certainly gives him a high ceiling if Wendell Carter misses this game again.
Right. So this is actually a team that we have to pay attention to. Any other spots right now with what we know that you want to get to for Orlando?
The Gary Harris news matters too. You got 35 minutes from Jalen Suggs as a starter last game. He's only 4,200. So right now we have him pulling 6% ownership, assuming he comes off the bench. But if he's in the starting lineup, that's going to look better. Markelle Fultz is sort of always okay to get to at 6,200. Same for Banchero at 74. But if we assume Harris and Carter are in, the only guy that I think looks remotely like a priority would be Cole Anthony at 4,400. But there is the potential for some other stuff to open up as well.
Let's talk about Washington and Detroit. The Wizards 7.5 point road favorites, 225.5 total. Looking at this right now, Kyle Kuzma's status definitely plays a role in all of this. I mean, if he ends up sitting, then we can start getting into some of these other high priced options. We have Beal at 12% right now, Avdia at 10%, Porzingis at 9%. Just looking at our ownership projections, by the way, 50% off any subscription you want, any package you want, weekly, monthly, single sport, every sport. Like you want to get access to every sport we have, we got you covered. Link in the description and in chat. So the hope is that you love it and stick around. 50% off everything, no matter what it is. Plus you get the lineup generator in there, or you can just do the lineup generator for less than $4.50 a week. Play it however you want, but check it out. 50% off anything for your first week or month, depending on what subscription you go with. But yeah, right now, I mean, the Kyle Kuzma news is kind of significant here. What do you do if he sits?
Yeah, it is big. We've actually had 5 full games this year where Kuzma's been out and both Porzingis and Beal have played. Bradley Beal's usage rate in those games is 35%. To put that in context, in the games where Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis have all been in, Beal's got a usage rate between 27 and 28%. So it is only 5 games, but you've seen a massive bump in usage for Bradley Beal without Kuzma. At 8,200, he would certainly look good if Kuzma's out. You get a good matchup as well. His playing time is back, played 35 minutes last game. We went through a stretch where Beal was kind of just capped at like 32, but you have him back playing, real minutes now. So he's going to look fine, even if Kuzma's in. You're still talking about, a very good offensive player that's going to have a 27 to 28% usage rate and probably play mid-30s in minutes in a good matchup. But if Kuzma's out, it makes Beal look quite a bit better.
What about the rest of Washington then?
Porzingis always a high upside option as well. In those 5 games, he has a 28% usage rate, nearly 1.4 fantasy points per minute. In the games he's played with Kuzma and Beal, 25.8% usage, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute. So a slight uptick for him as well at 9K. Nice spot for him also. Not much interior defense being offered by Detroit. So I like Porzingis as a tournament play as well, pulling 9% ownership. Avdi is okay at 4,600, particularly if Kuzma's out. We got Anthony Gill starting last game, but Avdia still played 31 off the bench in Kuzma's absence. Wouldn't mind getting there. Monte Morris questionable as well. If he's out, you should get another start from DeLon Wright, who's 5K, likely playing around 30 minutes. I think Beal, one way or the other, is going to be the top option to get to here. Porzingis, Avdia both look fine. If Kuzma's in at 7,800, I don't mind that either. But if Kuzma's in, it kind of just becomes a team where there's some good but not great tournament plays. Beal, Avdia, Porzingis, Kuzma. But if Kuzma's out, I really like Beal. I like Porzingis more. I like Avdia more.
Dude, what the hell do we do with Detroit right now? I mean,
no idea.
Everybody, a second of a back-to-back. So it's like a lot of these guys could have just been sitting on the front end of a back-to-back. But Bojan Bogdanovic, Killian Hayes, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Amadou Diallo, Rodney Magruder, all of these guys are either, on the injury report or just we don't know if they're going to play because they're playing the second of a back-to-back and they sat yesterday.
Right. Like I have no idea who's playing for the Pistons today. There's going to be plays that look good.
Hold on, real quick though. Like let's just assume a lot of these guys stay out. I know Detroit's a bad team, but would this open up some of the best value on the slate? Like there'd be no one in the starting lineup.
Right. Like everybody on this team on DraftKings, with the exception of Bogdanovich, is sub 6K. So like you have cheap guys. It's just a matter of who. If everybody's in, like right now we have all these guys projected in, nothing stands out, but you still can get to a $5,800 Ivy, a $5,500 Bagley, $5,400 for Hayes. Like these are all still solid tournament plays. But if you start ruling guys out, like if Killian Hayes is out, you see a huge bump in assist percentage for Jaden Ivey. If Boyan's also out, you get a usage bump for Ivey as well. He's been extremely inefficient in those minutes, only about a 44% true shooting percentage without Boyan or Hayes or Cunningham on the floor this year, but like a 30% usage rate, averaging over a fantasy point per minute, despite only the 44% true shooting percentage. So a massive ceiling in that case for Ivey. If they're in, he looks fine, but he certainly looks better if they're out. Alec Burks at 4,100, not really that appealing if everybody's in and he's coming off the bench. But if you get him in the starting lineup playing big minutes, he's going to look good. Only played 23 minutes yesterday, didn't close the game. You saw Corey Joseph and RJ Hampton down the stretch. So that would be the risk with Burks. But you're talking about like a fantasy point per minute guy at 4,100 that has the potential to play close to 30 minutes. He would look really good if those guys are out. If Stewart is out, then Bagley and Wiseman look better. It's really basically impossible to talk about right now, but there's going to be plays that look at the very least decent from Detroit. And as you start ruling guys out, they're just going to look better and better.
And listen, Bagley has played 34 and 36 minutes over his last two games, and he has power forward eligibility.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying he's the greatest option out there, but on a per minute basis, he's not bad. Big double doubles in 3 of his last 5. Like, let's just assume, excuse me, that Bagley or that Duran and Stewart are out with power forward eligibility. How much would you like someone like Bagley?
I would like him a lot if Duran and Stewart are out. The minutes are there. Like, he disappointed yesterday, but he still played 35 minutes. Like, if you go back and play yesterday's slate again and you say Marvin Bagley's playing 35 minutes, you're still jamming in a ton of him. I just saw Sean V in chat laughing because Josh said yesterday that Bagley was the best play on the slate. He was clearly one of the best plays on the slate.
He played 36 minutes.
All you have to do is go back and look at who DFS players played the most of, and it's Marvin Bagley. He was 80% owned in like the $200 3 max on DraftKings. Just because he had a bad game, you don't get to go back and be like, oh, he was a bad play, because now we know that he played like shit. Like, it happens, but he's 5,500. He's over a fantasy point per minute guy, and he played 35 minutes. Like, you're just playing him every single time there. And it's the same thing here. If he's starting, if Stewart's out, if Duran's out, and you have Bagley in the starting lineup, you're going right back to him.
Yeah. What's crazy is he got pulled off with like 3 minutes left in that game too, because they were down by 30 points. Right. Yeah, I would go right back to Bagley in a spot like this, hands down, in a perfectly reasonable spot. But yeah, pay attention. We don't know what's going on with Detroit right now. We do know that it could open up a ton of really good value across the board against Washington. You want to move on to Charlotte?
Yeah. And just to reiterate, like, this is just a team that hopefully we have more to talk about by the deeper dive. If not, live before lock, we'll get it. Fortunately, this is a 7-10 game. So it's the Pistons. We'll probably get their news at some point, and then we'll get a starting lineup about 20 minutes before the game starts, and then we'll get a correct starting lineup 10 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, at least it's the earliest game, and there's only 2 of them. So, and Milwaukee, not that appealing. Orlando, we'll see what happens there with Wendell Carter Jr., but we should be okay. Charlotte, 10-point dogs against the Knicks, 225.5 total here. Let's talk about the Hornets a little bit. Not the best matchup, not exactly a fast-paced spot. Kelly Oubre's price is coming up, still getting a little bit of love here. Aside from Kelly Oubre, though, nobody's really popular on Charlotte today.
No, and I don't really think they should be. Pretty shitty matchup going up against the Knicks. Oubre, shooting guard, small forward, 7,200, playing big minutes. No real issue with that. You got 35 minutes again last game. You've gotten 38 recently as well. But that price tag is coming up. You got PJ Washington back last game. He played 36 minutes, but he's 6,300. So it's not like there's a ton of value left there. Rozier at 8K, pretty much correctly priced. I think this is just another team where you have secondary tournament options. There's no problem with getting to Oubre, Washington, Rozier, Hayward in individual tournament lineups. Mark Williams as well at 6,100. But there's just better plays elsewhere. So you're not going to get tons of any of these guys.
On the other side, though, you've got Mitchell Robinson. God, this guy just played 44 minutes in a double overtime game. What an odd player he is. You know, if he attempts 5 shots, he's going to make all 5 of them around the basket, or he's just going to go 1 for 1 or, 1 for 2. Quality rebounder. The shot blocking recently, ever since he returned from that injury, has been down a little bit, but that stuff balances itself out. He's getting a lot of ownership. I think it's sub 5K. It makes sense. Obviously, like we both said, the Detroit news could change some of that. If both Stewart and Duren are both out, you could see a bit of a shakeup at that position. If Wendell Carter Jr. is out, it could shake it up a little bit with Mo Wagner being super cheap. But Mitchell Robinson is playing considerable minutes right now in a very good matchup against a poor rebounding front court.
Yeah, it looks really good here for Robinson. The playing time's been there. He's around the fantasy point per minute guy. Low usage, like you said, but you do get block upside with him. That should be there sooner or later. And he's just cheap. He played 34 minutes in regulation last game. You're consistently seeing 30 plus from him when he avoids foul trouble. Good matchup. Just looks really, really good. Beyond that, we do need to wait on Jalen Brunson news. This is really big. If Brunson's in, it creates a situation where Randall's fine. It's a good matchup for all these guys. So Julius Randle's still fine. Brunson's fine. RJ Barrett at 5,300 looks okay, but nothing looks great. If Brunson's out, Randle looks better because you're just getting more of the offense running through Julius Randle. RJ Barrett looks a hell of a lot better. He played 40 minutes in regulation last game, and that's something we hadn't been seeing from Barrett a lot recently. But the reason that you haven't been seeing the playing time from Barrett is that when Brunson's in, you're still getting minutes for Emmanuel quickly off the bench, and then Josh Hart is playing substantial minutes, and so it just leaves where Barrett's playing 28-30 minutes instead of 38-40. If you take Brunson out, then a lot of the quickly minutes are basically Jalen Brunson's minutes. It allows Josh Hart to still play his normal role and just leaves more minutes available for RJ Barrett. So he looks okay at 5,300 if Brunson's in, but he looks like a great play if Brunson's out. Emmanuel quickly at 5K. You can throw a dart at him off the bench if Brunson's in, but he's one of the best plays on the slate if Brunson's out and he's starting again. So just another team where there's definitely good plays, but they have the potential to really improve by the time we get to the start of this game.
Quickly played 55 of 58 total available minutes last game.
That's insane.
55 of 50. Listen to this.
He sat the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and never left the floor again.
Yeah. Entire third, entire fourth, entire first and second overtime. Played 55 of 58 minutes. It's crazy. I mean, look, I'm not saying that if this game, ends in regulation, 48 minutes and Brunson's out, that Quickly is going to play 46 minutes or 45 minutes, but that's encouraging to see that if Brunson ends up sitting, you could be Quickly's price point. I mean, listen, if Brunson's out, how would you prioritize Quickly if Brunson's out?
Very highly.
Yeah, especially in this matchup, right? I mean,
the matchup's great too. You can play Quickly if Brunson's in. It's just as a contrarian tournament play. But if he's out, Quickly looks great.
Really good. Yeah. 55 of 58 minutes. All right. Anybody else you want to get to for New York?
No.
Okay.
And so we have. Hang on, I'm trying to see how many games we have. With Quickly starting without Brunson, but I typed it in backwards. So he has started 5 games this year where Brunson's been out, Randall's been in. He has, it's because of last game, but he's averaged 45 minutes per game. But 1.09 DraftKings points per minute, 23.8% usage rate, 28.9% assist percentage. I just wanted to see, how the rates look there, and they certainly look good.
You said he's averaged 45 minutes per game in 5 games?
Yeah.
All right. But even if you took that one game out.
I'm going now to see what the actual individual numbers are.
Yeah, it's still a lot.
Yeah, so we got, we know we got 55 last game. You got 37. So you have twice he's played more than 50 minutes out of those 5 games. He played 51 against Dallas back in December. He played 43 against the Spurs. in the next game. He played 40 against Houston in the game after that, 37 against Miami in February, and then 55 last game against Boston.
Wow. So essentially, if Brunson's out, I'm not saying you lock anything in, it's Thibodeau, but you're looking at huge, likely huge minutes again.
Yeah, he's one of the best plays on the slate if Brunson's out. RJ Barrett's a very good play if Brunson's out. Julius Randle's a very good play if Brunson's out. The thing that gets kind of tricky is like you also have Memphis on the slate. So you have you have Tyus, facing the Lakers. So you already know that you have one really good point guard value. You're likely to get guard value from Detroit once we get that injury report. You're going to get quickly looking amazing here if Brunson's out. It's going to become a really interesting guard slate potentially.
Let's talk about Philly here against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Second of a back-to-back. That game, just no defense whatsoever yesterday at all. 290 total points in that game. Joel Embiid went for 42 and 5. 37 minutes, second of a back-to-back. James Harden played almost 40 minutes in that game. Any concerns here about these guys, just the amount of minutes they've been getting lately? Now it's a second of a back-to-back on the road for the two big guns here.
Not really. I mean, if they play, I assume they're getting normal minutes.
Yeah. Maxey played 37 in the starting lineup. That's encouraging to see. He's been playing big minutes again. I don't think Doc has any fucking clue what he's doing at this point, but I will say though, listen, if Tobias Harris and or PJ Tucker remain out, maybe both of them, as we saw last game, Jalen McDaniels played 30 minutes yesterday too.
Yeah, that does have implications, and it's kind of not. You don't really think about Harris and Tucker as guys that have huge implications for the Sixers, but from a playing time standpoint, they do, because if one of them is out, you're probably getting Melton in the starting lineup, which do with that what you will. He's 4,100 shooting guard, small forward. He also just doesn't really produce fantasy points when he's playing with Maxey, Embiid, and Harden, but playing time would be there. But if they're both out, you're getting a $3,100 Jalen McDaniels most likely in the starting lineup. He is very inexpensive here, and like you said, played 30 minutes. We know he's not a bad point per minute guy. He's not great, but he's always been solid enough. It's not like you're talking a PJ Tucker type guy moving into the starting lineup. So at 3,100, he would look like a very good Ford value if he's starting.
Yeah, man. And outside of Shake Milton yesterday, who played 30 minutes, the bench played essentially nothing. 11 minutes to Paul Reed, just getting the backups behind Joel Embiid. Daniel House played 18 and George Niang played 11. So this was 30 to Jalen McDaniels as a starter. Harden played 40, Maxey 37 to Embiid, and 27 to Melton. So I think there definitely would be value there. Like you said, those guys aren't pivotal, they're not taking usage away when they're in the starting lineup, but yeah, okay. Definitely interesting. What if everybody's active today?
If everybody's active, then I think you're pretty much just looking at the big three, for lack of a better phrase, from Philly. Tyrese Maxey's still pretty inexpensive at 5,800, but he is one where right now he's pulling 20.5% ownership on DraftKings, 17.5% chance of being optimal. That's all fine. If you get Detroit ruling guys out, if you get Brunson out, Tyrese Maxey's ownership is coming down just because Quickly would look better. Guards on Detroit potentially look better. Like if Hayes is out, Ivy's going to look better. Burks is going to look better. So that is something that certainly is going to be impacted by other teams, but reasonable price tag on Maxey given the amount of minutes he's playing. And then clearly you can just always get to Embiid and Harden, neither one pulling a ton of ownership. And that just goes back to what we were talking about with Giannis, where there's a lot of different pay up options that all look pretty good. So it's going to be difficult to single out one and say oh, this is the guy we're going to, but certainly getting to Embiid, getting to Harden is going to be fine.
Yeah. On the other side of this one too, you've got Minnesota. No real injury news here. Jalen Noel's still out, but aside from that, this team is essentially healthy. Is there value here? We have 15% going to Kyle Anderson today, small forward, power forward. 8% going to Rudy Gobert, 8% going to Jaden McDaniels using our ownership tool. By the way, you could look at the boom bust tool as well. Get the leverage score, optimal lineup percentages, all that stuff. Like I said, 50% off everything we have. Got to use the link in the description and in chat though. And if you have questions, hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are open. Happy to help you figure out what's best for you. But this stuff guides us in the right direction right now. And Minnesota, all in all, not to say that there aren't some tournament options here, but it doesn't look like the most appealing team right now. Although Philly's defense has looked like dog shit lately.
Yeah, it has. But with Minnesota, you're just getting basically a healthy team. Obviously they're still without Karl Anthony Towns, they're without Jalen Noel, but Towns has been out forever. Noel doesn't make that much of a difference from a DFS standpoint. So you're just getting pretty much correct pricing. Kyle Anderson at 5,800, the only guy here pulling double-digit ownership. And that makes sense, small forward, power forward. But he's another one where as you get other value opening up, he's just going to become less of a priority. Rudy Gobert at 7,500. I like the production that you're getting with Mike Conley there. That was expected, and we have seen a bump in usage for Gobert. We've seen a bump in fantasy points per minute, but his salary is also increased, and he's not playing a ton of minutes. Once again, you got 31 minutes last game. We just haven't been seeing those 34, 35-minute games from Gobert that we were getting earlier in the year, so it does still make it difficult to prioritize him. It does give you upside, but at that price, it's just basically a correct price tag. Edwards is up to 9,600. We've seen his assist percentage come down a bit since Mike Conley came over. They're not running Edwards at point as often as they were when Russell was there, so that cuts into his production a bit. I think this is a pretty difficult team to prioritize anything from.
What's going on with Andrew Wiggins right now for the Warriors?
I don't know what he's missed 9 or 10 straight games for personal reasons.
Yeah. It's odd. Family matter. But I was trying to look into it. I can't see. It's got to be something serious though. Like if you're missing this many games in a row.
Yeah, like it's got to be something big. I haven't heard.
That's what I'm saying, right? It has to be something very significant. If you're talking what, 9 games in and plus a stretch of the season where you could really need them. They've dealt with so many injuries to big players all year. Like I don't know. It's odd, but he's out again today, man. You got no Andrew Wiggins. Draymond Green is probable. If we were to dig into this a little bit, is this just kind of par for the course? Like a little bit of Dante DiVincenzo continuing to get minutes and then sprinkling other players. Curry played 32 minutes in his first game back. I can't imagine he's going to have any significant limitations at all in this second game if he played 32 minutes his first game back. Yeah,
I don't expect him to really be limited here. 32 minutes, like you said. No real reason to think he's not playing normal minutes here. So he's another one where, he's 10-1. He gives you a nice ceiling. There's a lot of guys that project similarly to him, but you can clearly just get him going off. 1% ownership right now. Never going to be mad at getting to that in tournaments, but it's another team that, for all intents and purposes, is healthy. They're missing Wiggins, but he's not a high usage guy, and he's been out for a while, so prices have adjusted. DiVincenzo at 5,400 is kind of in that like Kyle Anderson category where he's pulling double-digit ownership right now, and that's just because he does have shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He's reasonably priced at 5,400. You're likely getting mid-30s in minutes from him, so he just slots in the lineups really easily. But if you start getting Pistons ruled out, or you start getting or you get Brunson ruled out, or you get other guys ruled out elsewhere, the incentive to get to Dante DiVincenzo is just going to decrease because you're going to have better options. But right now, if we assume, everybody questionable is in, DiVincenzo is just a decent last piece in. Clay gives you a nice ceiling, so does Poole, but they both are priced up. They're both, pretty difficult to get to. So another team that just doesn't look all that appealing.
Still on the other side, waiting to see if Jalen Williams is in or out. Let's start there because he's been damn good recently. You're seeing some really excellent production from him. The price point, of course, has come up considerably from where it was not long ago. But if he ends up sitting, is there anything that we can glean from this? Like, because we already talked about Detroit with potential absences there. Philly would open up value if those two guys are missing. Orlando could open things up. Kyle Kuzma's absence could open things up. What if Jalen Williams sits?
Who the hell knows?
Okay. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Isaiah Joe or probably Aaron Wiggins start, I would guess. I mean, it could be literally anybody, but I assume they would go Aaron Wiggins. He'd be my first guess. Joe would be second. But, it's a $3,400 Aaron Wiggins. If he starts, he's probably playing like 26 to 28 minutes, but he could just start the first half and not start the second half also. There's nobody that you're going to feel comfortable with if Williams is out, but it does take a body out of the rotation. So it would make it easier for Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins or Dario Saric to get enough minutes to be good plays. You're just not going to be overly comfortable with any of that.
Could you see Ousmane Dieng start?
You could. It's the Thunder.
Yeah. 21, 20 minutes last two games.
Yeah, I mean, you could get Saric starting. Like, they could do literally anything.
If one of, yeah. All right. That's true.
Because Dort, like, SGA being back and then Dort being there just means that they can replace him with anybody. You can replace him with a wing. You can replace him with a big. You can do whatever you want.
So as it stands right now, do you like anybody from OKC?
Not really. Giddey's price tag came up as a result of Gilgeous-Alexander being out. Gilgeous-Alexander at 10K is in that bucket with Steph Curry, where I'm never upset about getting to him at low ownership, but there's just a lot of similar looking guys here. Jalen Williams, the center, is 3,600, but pretty scary using a center position on him, given that his playing time is always inconsistent and the opportunity cost is so high. So right now, I don't think there's really anything that stands out. SGA would probably be my favorite guy to get to, but nothing that I would be prioritizing. If Jalen Williams is out, then I think you mix in some more, just dart throws on Wiggins, Joe, Saric, but still probably nothing that becomes a true priority.
5 down, 3 to go. Glad you guys are spending the morning with almost at 100 likes too. 5 away. We're 5 away from 100 here. Shout out to our sponsor Prize Picks as well. I mentioned throughout the whole show, like anything that you wanted is 50% off for the first week or month. One sport, every sport, just a lineup generator. Get that for less than $4.50 a week. Even if you're playing $2 a day, it makes sense, especially with all the wins we've seen on that. Or Prize Picks is available in your state and you haven't signed up yet, and you get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. $120 value plus $100 first match deposit bonus at Prize Picks when you sign up. Think about that for a second, right? You click the link, got to use the link, otherwise we can't find you, and unfortunately can't take it your word, even though I bet you're honest people. $100 first match deposit bonus. So up to $100, 100%. If you put $100 in a Prize Picks, your account balance is going to say 200. If you put 50 in, it's going to say 100. Hell, maybe you only have $10 to go and get in. Well, it'll say 20. Plus, you're getting all of our tools for every single sport, not just NBA, all of our tools, $120 value, entirely free. Josh is putting out his Prize Picks videos every day over at OddsShopper. We got stuff on the DFS channel. We got already free content, right? Prize Picks, not to mention, scratch that itch if you're in non-legal betting states. So if you're in states where you can't bet legally, here's a way to kind of, it's not betting, but here's a nice little workaround, because you're taking props, no juice on either side, just over or the under, building them in the lineups. You do a 5-pick a lineup, flex play, you hit all 5, you're 10xing. If you do 6, you're 25xing. But let's say you're doing a 5, right? Any other sports book, you do a 5-leg parlay. You hit 4 or 5, thank you for your business. We'll see you for the next one. You get nothing. Prize Picks, you still 2x at 4 or 5. You still make money back if you hit 3 of 5. You can mix as many sports as you want. Use all of our tools to help you generate the best lineups possible, okay? Get all of our projected stats, get our player prop data, all of that stuff, and all of our DFS content, ownership, top stack tools, boom bust tools, player projections, lineup generator, lineup builder for every, dude, NASCAR, MMA, PGA, basketball, baseball's coming up, XFL, college basketball, soccer. If there's contests out there, we have all the content, all the tools that you need. You're getting them entirely free, $120 value. Got to use the link though when you sign up. Deposit, get your 100% match bonus up to $100. Join our Discord. Come say hello. The point here is we'd love for you guys to win. See how valuable these tools are to you, and then hang around for a long time to come. Join the Stokastic family. Check it out. Link in the description. You're talking everything for free for the entire month and the bonus over at Prize Picks. Check out Josh's videos as well. Help guide you along each day if you're just getting in the Prize Picks. All right. Yeah, Keith, who knows? Missouri maybe one day. I don't know. Massachusetts going live though soon.
Did you just say Missouri?
Yeah, why?
That's how you pronounce that word?
How do you say it? Missouri?
Missouri?
Missouri? Well, that's not. See, okay, like how do you say tournament?
Tournament.
I used to get laughed at for saying tournament, and people were like, "No, it's tournament." Well,
actually, I think I go back and forth. I might have just said tournament because you said tournament.
I go back and forth too, but like naturally, it should be tournament. If it's tournament, it should be TER or TURN. You know?
I don't know how I say that one. I know I don't emphasize it as much as some people do. Like some people like really say tournament, like
right.
Like,
No, tournament,
really
tournament,
emphasize it.
fine.
Yeah.
But Missouri, it's
Missouri.
O-U-R.
Missouri.
Missouri. Tour. Okay. Tour, T-O-U-R. Missouri.
Yeah, it's Missouri.
It's Missouri. Yeah, you just said Missouri.
No, I said Missouri.
Like tournament.
Missouri.
So you say tournament.
Tournament. Yeah, I do say tournament, actually. Yeah.
I just pronounce things the way they should be pronounced. Although I guess depending on where you are, like, yeah, Missouri. Got a tournament down in Missouri, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Massachusetts is going, that's going to be huge, man. I can't imagine how stoked people. Yeah, Massachusetts is going live for sports betting soon, Adam. That's going to be massive for people.
That'll be good.
When did you go fully live? Like a couple months ago?
Yeah, I want to say like, I don't know, November.
Okay. Yeah, things are opening up, man. But Prize Picks, there's a lot of states that still don't have legal sports betting. A lot. Check it out. Let's talk about Brooklyn and Houston. Brooklyn, 6 point. You were shocked by the way I said Missouri.
I've never heard somebody say Missouri like that.
Really? It sounds like you're saying it the same way I'm saying it, honestly.
I'm not. I'm saying it the correct way. You're saying it the way like somebody who had never heard of the state of Missouri and then read it off a piece of paper would say it.
I disagree. Brooklyn, 6 point favorites against Houston, 231.5 total. Man, Bridges is not cheap anymore, but he's just putting up. Just the usage right now has been astronomical. Nick Claxton still getting a lot of ownership here. I mean, I guess I get that, but maybe you can explain this to me better. I'm still a little surprised each day that, and I know this matchup is fantastic, and he's had some good matchups like against Charlotte last game, but it just seems like we get so many good, decent mid-range or low-priced center options that like the sub 30 minutes for Nick Claxton, still getting him at close to 30% seems like a lot. Maybe you can tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's weird that he's getting as much as he is. Like, I think he's a good play at 6,500. Sure. You're typically getting upper 20s in minutes from him. He's a good point per minute guy, reasonable price tag. It's just like when you think about the opportunity cost at the center position, even ignoring the guys at the top, you know, like that you're going to want to allocate some of that to Joel Embiid, for example. But like even just thinking about games we've already talked about, Mark Williams is getting 2% and Claxton's getting 25. I think that Claxton's probably the better player of the two, but not by 10 times. Like, I think they're similar enough plays that it's surprising to me that Claxton's getting as much ownership as he is. Granted, it is a great spot against Houston as well. But yeah, that's a lot of ownership coming into him. I think that he's a good play. I just think that ownership probably comes down by the time we get to lock. But, you know, with it being the strategy show, I don't want to get too caught up in the ownership because it ends up making it sound like, you know, we're saying like, don't play Claxton or something. Like, Claxton's a good play here. I'm just a little confused why he's getting quite that much ownership.
Right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying as well. Water. Yeah. Obi-Wan. My dad always, that's how he said water. Water. I was a Philly thing.
So also back to your, that's how it's spelled thing. You should be saying Missouri. Like it's MISS. There's no Z.
Missouri. Dude, I don't know. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And he would say like any day of the week would be like Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's like I was a Philly thing for sure. Yeah, I tournament, Missouri. It's all the same, really. How do I say Louisville? I don't say Louisville.
Louisville.
Oh, yes, I say Louisville. You say Louisville.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not from the South. Why should I give a shit? They can pronounce it however they want, and I respect that. But I don't know. Do you say Illinois?
No, I do not say Illinois. Do you?
No. No, I'm not that egregious. The rest of it's so funny looking at Brooklyn though. Like all of these guys are pulling some ownership today, even down to Royce O'Neal and Dinwiddie at 15. I guess this has to be a matchup thing, right? Like I'm not saying that they don't have minutes and some of them aren't really cheap, but all of these guys are we have 6 Brooklyn Nets players in double-digit ownership right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really good matchup. And these guys do come with high upside just because there's, I guess it is Bridges is just the clear number one at this point, but there's no like guy that you think of as a number one. So it's pretty easy paths to any of these guys having good games. So I get why they're getting a lot of ownership. It's another team where it probably comes down across the board as you get value opening up elsewhere. But Cameron Johnson at 5,900, likely playing low 30s. He's going to look fine. Mikal Bridges has been fantastic and is playing huge minutes. I'm trying to pull up his numbers so far with Brooklyn, but we've seen him just take on a huge role here, and there's no real reason to think that that's changing. In 9 games now with the Nets, 1.22 DraftKings points per minute, 34.8 minutes per game, 26.8% usage rate, 14.5% assist percentage as well, rebounding at around a 10% clip. So he's going to look good. That price tag's come up, but it's pretty well deserved. Dinwiddie at 7,300 gets plenty of opportunities. Then you get a cheap Finney Smith, cheap Royce O'Neal. A little confused by the Royce O'Neal ownership. He barely even played in the second half last game, got to 18.5 minutes. But Finney Smith, barring foul trouble, you're getting a lot of playing time from him. So this is just a team where I think there's a lot of guys that you can get to.
Okay. What about on Houston? Got 6-point home dogs, 231.5 total. Not a particularly high implied total here, but I guess, can we still look at some Jalen Green, some Tari Eason at their price points?
Yeah, it's you're seeing price tags come up a bit. Tari Eason was down at 4,100, 4,300. Now he's up to 48. But you're just getting increased playing time from him since the Eric Gordon trade. They're playing him more minutes alongside Jabari Smith. And then he also just has a path to big minutes because if anybody gets in foul trouble or the game blows out, he gets that as well. Like last game, he played 30 minutes. You can't really read into that too much because he got garbage time and he also benefited from Jabari Smith getting in foul trouble very, very early in the third quarter. So Tari Eason subbed in earlier than usual. But in that first half, he still played about 11, 12 minutes. So on average, you're probably getting around 22 minutes from Eason if the entire game just goes perfectly according to plan. And he's a good enough point per minute guy. He could still get there in that amount of run. But if anything weird happens, KJ Martin gets in foul trouble, Jabari Smith gets in foul trouble, Şengün gets in foul trouble potentially, you're probably getting more run from Eason. So there is still upside for him there, but nowhere near the level of priority that he was on some previous slates. Jalen Green at 6,400 was wildly disappointing a couple games ago when he was popular, but you're still getting, in a competitive game, big minutes from him. You still get a high usage rate at a reasonable price tag. Şengün gives you a very high ceiling, only pulling 3.5% ownership. I think it's tough enough to get there that he's not a true priority, but we do have him going a bit under-owned, 7% chance of being optimal, 3.5% ownership. So there's some tournament plays here, but there's not, how did I say it? Did I say tournament?
Yeah.
Okay. There's some tournament plays there, but there's nothing that stands out as a priority.
It doesn't make sense. Marco said Arkansas is a tricky one for me. Why is there Kansas and then Arkansas, but it's pronounced Arkansas?
I have no idea.
I've
never heard anybody pronounce Arkansas differently, though.
No. Arkansas is pronounced Arkansas, but I'm saying it's literally Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. It makes no sense.
It took some time for so let's see. In 1881, a heated disagreement between the state's 2 senators, one who said Arkansas and the other who said Arkansas, led to a ruling by state legislator making the Arkansas pronunciation official. Ever since, Americans have gone along with the S-less first syllable stressed version of Arkansas.
So they had an illiterate senator that won an argument.
It sounds like it. Or they just fucking hated Kansas and they were like,
right.
We don't want to be associated with these guys.
Right.
It sounds like it all came from Indian tribes and stuff, and maybe there was some differences there, but yeah, doesn't actually make sense. Good call, Marcos. All right, let's close this out. 2 games to go. Utah and Dallas. Utah's pretty much they were down Markkanen for a game. They were down Clarkson. Colin Sexton's still out, but at this point, now that Clarkson's price has come up with the absence of Clarkson and then Markkanen the other day, he's mid 7K right now. Markkanen's almost 10K. These guys are getting pretty expensive.
Yeah, they are. And you're getting a matchup with Dallas that is appealing in that Dallas cannot defend anybody. Pretty slow paced team, but Nothing really standing out here. Price tags coming up. Chris Dunn's at 4,800 now. Clarkson at 75. Markkanen pushing almost 10K. I don't think there's anything that looks that good. Like if you land on a little bit of Markkanen or Clarkson or Dunn, whatever, those guys are all fine, but nothing that I would expect to get much of at all.
Okay. Ty the Barber, don't they say English language is the most difficult to learn? I've had a lot of people tell me, and this is just anecdotal, but like a lot of people told me that English was not their first language, that it was insanely difficult because there's so many words that sound exactly the same that mean different things.
And like we're talking about that are spelled one way and pronounced entirely differently.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't Mandarin the most difficult? But I know English is one of the most difficult. I thought Mandarin was like the actual most difficult.
It probably is. Mandarin seems impossible. I've watched English speaking people go and learn it and fluently speak Mandarin. It's one of the most impressive things you'll ever see. Really is. But I think just in terms of like English being like, there's a lot of words that sound the same, but are spelled differently and mean different things.
Yeah.
Probably not easy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the most difficult. And I mean, like, it's as somebody who like, it's my first language. It's difficult. Like it just, there's so much shit that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. He said silent vowels and stuff. Yeah. Right. All that stuff can't be easy. Dallas. Or no,
Jordan threw in that he does not speak Mandarin.
do you, Jordan, what languages do you speak? That's it?
High school.
What about your mom?
Nothing. She didn't speak any other English. I'm like third generation here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would make sense then.
Lofty's been giving you the benefit of the doubt on so much shit because he thought you just got here.
What's that?
I said that you've been giving Jordan the benefit of the doubt on so much stuff because you thought he just got here.
What about your grandparents, Jordan? What is it? Tagalog? Okay. I would call it tackling. Yeah. You can't speak, and you can speak some of it. Like say hi, how are you doing? What phrases do you know? Say it. Oh, you're so American. You and your broken Tagalog. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks on the other side. What do you want to do with Dallas today? We've spoken on so many games that have a lot of really good value already. I think some of these teams are going to go kind of overlooked. Not to say you can't get to anything from Dallas, like Luka's 12K in a pretty decent matchup. Josh Green, we have at 12% right now.
Yeah, that's surprising. The minutes are there for him. He's just not a very good point per minute guy at all. He's someone that, I mean, I think that just kind of disappears as we get closer to lock, as we get more news. But in the 7 games that he's played with Kyrie Irving and with Luka, he's averaged 28.9 minutes per game, which, you look at that $3,900 price and it's like, oh, cool. 0.6 DraftKings points per minute, 13.5% usage rate, 8% rebounding percentage, 7.7% assist percentage. And it's not like you expect that to change. His role isn't to be an offensive player. It's to be one of the only guys on this team that can play any level of defense. So I don't get the Josh Green ownership at all. For Luka, like clearly if you get there, great. He does take, a step back with Kyrie, but he's still really good. 1.52 DraftKings points per minute, 37% usage rate, 31% assist percentage in the 7 games that they've played together. For most people, those are insanely good rates. For him, that's a drop off in both usage and assist percentage from earlier in the year, but still a lot of, very good on a point per minute basis. Good matchup. Certainly happy to get there. Kyrie gives you a nice ceiling at 9,300. You're going to get some disappointing games from him from time to time just because he is sharing the floor with Luka, but 1.28 DraftKings points per minute for him, 27.5% usage rate, 28.5% assist percentage. Not surprisingly, they are staggering their minutes. So you're getting around 1/3 of Kyrie's minutes coming without Luka on the floor as well. Both of those guys give you plenty of upside in tournaments. That's where I would get to first. Again, I don't really understand the Josh Green ownership. For what it's worth, he also has a 4% chance of being optimal. So I think we just see this ownership number get nerfed at some point in an update. But Luka and Kyrie, the two guys that I would expect to get to a little bit here in tournaments.
Let's wrap it. Memphis, LA Lakers. So someone asked earlier, is Tyus Jones a free square again today? Listen, I know he's not the same price point that he was on, what was that, Sunday? But at 4,900, he was what, 3,100. I mean, yeah, that's just insane. And he was what, like 95% owned. But if he's going to play big minutes today, good enough matchup against the Lakers, $4,900 Tyus Jones still looks really, really good.
Yeah, he still looks excellent. Really, the only thing that would make him, and like, I'm not going to call anything a lock, but the only thing that would make him not like a clear top option would be if you do get Jalen Brunson ruled out and you get half the Pistons ruled out, then he's still a top option. You just have other comparable ones like Emmanuel Quickley. But right now, assuming those guys are in, you have 66% ownership projected to come in the Tyus Jones at 4,900 on DraftKings, 56% chance of being optimal. He's still massively mispriced here. Don't fall into the trap of saying like, oh, well, he's priced correctly now because his salary jumped $1,800. He was just unbelievably underpriced, and now he's still very underpriced. He has started 33 games without John Morant over the last 2 seasons. He's averaged 31.3 minutes per game, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute. This season specifically, he has started 10 games without Morant, 33 and a half minutes per game, 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. So you're probably going to see that point per minute production come down over a larger sample. But you're just talking about somebody that easily projects north of 30 minutes or 30 fantasy points here. We have him at 35 at 4,900. It's just still a very, very easy play to get to.
Anthony Davis, $25 super chat. Thanks, brother. Always appreciate the support. Reason number 244 why I love this show. Off track convo. Today's correct pronunciation. Last week, Laffy's colorful and detailed read of Manscaped with my 15-year-old in the car. Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, if it was your 15-year-old son, there you go. You don't have to talk with him. I did it for you. No, thanks, man. I appreciate you a lot. Chris Williams, first off, you guys rock. That's why I've been spreading Stokastic to all my corporate Apple coworkers. Nice, dude. Good stuff. See if they can send us some free iPhones or something. That'd be sweet. Yeah. On the topic of pronouncing words, when asking for someone's email, I get the A with the circle around it all the time. What does that mean?
The @ symbol, but people describe it as A with the circle around it.
No.
That's like,
no.
I'd never heard that. That's amazing.
That actually is so dumb that my brain couldn't process what he meant.
Those people have to be 65 years old or older.
They have to be. I actually didn't know what he meant. Like,
yeah, I had to read it like 3 times and then it hit me what it was
when
saying.
you said it, it made like obviously makes sense, but it's so foreign that somebody would do something like that. Wow, that's crazy. All right.
I might start saying it just to mess with people.
Yeah, Adam Scherer, gmail.com.
Right.
All right. Justin Williams said, I work in IT and I get that all the time. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Ooh. Yeah, you can't be doing that. Chris said he gets it from young people too. That's out of control. It really doesn't make sense. For the rest of Memphis, Jordan, move that sidebar, please. For the rest of Memphis, thank you. Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Xavier Tillman. I mean, Jaren Jackson's expensive, but still always has that massive ceiling. The rest of the Grizzlies outside of Tyus, it's not just Tyus Jones looks the best, but the Grizzlies still look pretty good. And Steven Adams remains out, by the way. Brandon Clark's done for the year.
Yeah, so I mean, Desmond Bane pulling a lot of ownership here. That's pretty well deserved. 7,700 is a reasonable price tag there. You've gotten 6 games from him where Morant's been out, about a 30% usage rate, 24.5% assist percentage. He's a very high upside option. You get a bump in usage for Jaren Jackson. You get a bump in usage for Dylan Brooks, who's only 4,200. Obviously, Dylan Brooks comes with the caveat that he can't make shit, so usage is not as important as it is for like Desmond Bane, but the opportunity should be there. You know, the playing time is going to be there. All of those guys look good. Xavier Tillman at 5,400. The big thing for him on DraftKings is that now he somehow has power forward eligibility. If he were a $5,400 center, I wouldn't be all that interested. But with power forward eligibility and with no Clark in addition to no Adams, there should be a lot of minutes there. He's a good enough point per minute guy that that power forward eligibility certainly makes him look like a good value option. He played about 34 minutes last game against the Clippers. You saw, I guess, Aldama. Well, Jaren Jackson was the backup center, and Aldama, played those minutes as well. But you're not always going to get Tillman in the closing lineup, but the minutes should be there enough that at 5,400 with power forward eligibility looks pretty good.
Yeah, one of the best, probably the best overall team on the slate, but things can change. On the Lakers, it's not really the team that looks good. It's Anthony Davis, and then there's just everybody else. Yeah,
Anthony Davis certainly looks good. 26% ownership, center only on DraftKings. I think he has power forward on FanDuel. Yeah, he does. He's more expensive on FanDuel, but he has power forward, so that offsets it. But certainly happy to get there. 26% ownership, 18.5% chance of being optimal, about a fantasy point and a half per minute without LeBron on the floor this year. In the individual games LeBron's been out, Davis has produced at an even better rate. So I do think that he looks good. He's one reason why you do see low ownership on, or he's a big reason why you see relatively low ownership on Embiid, on Giannis, on Luka. It's just that Davis is still less expensive than those guys and projects similarly, if not better, without LeBron. So definitely like getting to Anthony Davis. And then it's just sort of some, secondary plays. Beasley, Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell, 6,300.
He's still questionable.
Yeah, so he's questionable. If he's in, like it makes Beasley look worse. It makes Schroeder look worse. But Russell at 6,300 would actually be kind of interesting. If he's out, it makes Beasley and Schroeder look better. But the price tags have come up a bit to where they'd still be secondary plays.
All right. 8 up, 8 down. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Fun show. I needed this. Needed to get right. Still not right, but needed to get slightly right. Yeah. Hit that thumbs up before you go. Remember, 50% off everything. Whatever it is you're looking for, weekly, monthly, lineup generator, or go to Prize Picks. Get the first month entirely free if you haven't done so yet. But yeah, thanks for all of the insight in chat, fellas. This has been fun. Let's go win some tournaments, Adam.
Yeah. Did you say you said it right that time?
I said it as a joke.
Yeah.
I honestly, it's interchangeable for me, and I don't know when I say it.
Yeah, I'll say I really didn't know when you asked me. I had to stop after I said it without thinking about it.
Oh, great. He had his 15-year-old daughter in the car. I mean, that's not good. That's not good. I take no responsibility for that, Anthony Davis. If you turn it on and Adam and I are on a show, or Josh or I are on a show, you just have to know that things could go south quickly. But thanks for all the super chats and everything. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, me at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D. And shout out to the wonderful Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. We'll see you guys back here tonight for Deeper Dive Live Before Lock and the Odd Shop on the Odd Shopper channel. I'll be hanging with Ben Rasa, talking everything sports betting heading into this NBA slate. Hang out with us if you got time before the Deeper Dive. Peace.